After all the trouble we've been through, you want to marry me?" At 82, Stefanie Powers still carries the elegance, poise, and grace that made her a Hollywood icon. Known for her unforgettable chemistry with Robert Wagner on Heart to Heart, she was once part of the screen's perfect couple. Yet, behind the glamour, secrets lingered. Secrets tied to the most haunting mystery of Hollywood's golden era: the death of Natalie Wood. For decades, Stefanie had remained silent about Wagner's connection to that night on Catalina Island in 1981. She referred to him only as an old friend, someone who once understood her better than anyone else. The public assumed her discretion was a conscious choice, a way to preserve the last fragments of affection between two legendary stars. But in a recent exclusive interview with Variety, Stefanie did what no one expected. She broke her silence, shedding light on decades of hidden truths, redacted autopsy reports, and the fortune Wagner inherited after Natalie's death. Her revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood, forcing the public to reconsider everything they thought they knew about Wagner and the night that changed history. It was Thanksgiving night, 1981. A thick fog cloaked the waters off Catalina Island, California. The sea was unnervingly calm, almost silent, as the yacht Splendor glimmered faintly through the mist. Hours later, the vessel, once a symbol of luxury and charm, became the center of one of Hollywood's darkest mysteries. At dawn on November 29, 1981, Natalie Wood's body was discovered floating less than a kilometer from Avalon Harbor. She wore a red nightgown, her life jacket backwards, and socks still on her feet. Her hair, wet and tangled with seaweed, hinted at a struggle unseen by the public eye. The autopsy report noted bruises on her wrists, knees, and arms, dismissed as post-mortem injuries. But coroner Thomas Noguchi's private notes hinted at something far more troubling. These injuries are not consistent with a natural fall. That line was quietly left out of the official report. Robert Wagner claimed that the evening had been uneventful. He, Natalie, and actor Christopher Walken dined at Doug's Harbor Reef, a high-end restaurant on Catalina. Wagner described it as a pleasant night, but witnesses painted a different picture. One waiter later told the Los Angeles Times that Wagner slammed his glass on the table, while Natalie lowered her head in silence. Another diner overheard Walken compliment Natalie, to which Wagner coldly replied, "She should be home with her husband and kids." Back on the yacht, the mood turned tense. Captain Dennis Davern reported sounds of shouting, bottles breaking, and then, chillingly, silence. Wagner didn't report Natalie missing until 1:30 a.m., though witnesses claimed they had heard a woman screaming almost 2 hours earlier. The discrepancies fueled suspicion, yet police ultimately ruled her death an accidental drowning. Many crucial details were overlooked or intentionally ignored. Natalie's life jacket had no tears despite reports she struggled in the water. Fingernail residue was never tested, even though there were marks on her wrists. The dinghy she supposedly used remained securely tied, showing no signs of use. Portions of crime scene photographs vanished for decades, only resurfacing in 2011. Even the media questioned the case. People magazine asked why someone terrified of water would go out alone on a foggy night. Vanity Fair described her pain as precise and deliberate, a suffering so carefully hidden that only those closest to her could begin to understand it. In 2011, Captain Davern altered his account, revealing that Wagner had lost his temper and prevented anyone from turning on the yacht's searchlights. The case was reopened, and by 2018, Wagner was officially listed as a person of interest. The cause of Natalie's death? Undetermined. Stefanie Powers, Wagner's longtime co-star and confidant, had witnessed a transformation that few outside their inner circle could understand. The man who had once commanded attention with effortless charm and charisma now moved through life like a shadow of himself. After Natalie's death, Wagner became withdrawn, distracted, and often unreachable. During the filming of Heart to Heart, Stefanie observed moments that left her unsettled. He would pause mid-scene, gaze into nothingness for long stretches, and sometimes break into laughter or conversation as if to mask the turmoil inside. In a revealing interview decades later, Stefanie shared a startling discovery. In 2012, she had accessed Natalie's autopsy file, only to find it incomplete. Some pages were missing, redacted from the public version. Stefanie hinted that these absent pages contained crucial details: circular bruises around Natalie's wrists, deep abrasions near her ribs, evidence that had mysteriously vanished from the official 1981 report. "Someone didn't want the world to know Natalie struggled," Stefanie said, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. "They just wanted to believe she fell." Her assertion sent shockwaves through Hollywood, confirming suspicions long whispered but never proven. Journalists who had examined the original files corroborated her account, lending credibility to a revelation that had been hidden for decades. Stefanie also reflected on Wagner's life after that fateful night. "He lived as if carrying a shadow," she recalled. "I don't think he ever truly slept again." Her words painted a haunting portrait of a man torn between grief, guilt, and the relentless gaze of a public that could never truly know the truth. In Stefanie's eyes, the charming, witty Robert Wagner, the world adored, was only one side of a man forever, shaped by tragedy. A man whose secrets and sorrow would remain, hidden in the depths of Hollywood's most enduring mystery. To truly understand Robert Wagner's public image, we must journey back to Hollywood's golden era, a time when glamour and scandal walked hand in hand. In the 1950s, Wagner was a rising star, carefully groomed by 20th Century Fox as the next Clark Gable, the epitome of elegance, charm, and masculine allure. But stardom rarely comes without shadows. Behind the polished smile, Wagner's life was punctuated by a string of scandalous affairs. His romance with Barbara Stanwyck, 23 years his senior, drew headlines and whispers, while fleeting encounters with legends like Marilyn Monroe and Joan Collins added layers of intrigue to his burgeoning fame. Hollywood watched, fascinated, as Wagner navigated the fine line between charisma and controversy. Then came Natalie Wood. At just 18, she was already a rising star, America's beloved princess of the screen, with a career destined for immortality. When Wagner and Wood met, sparks ignited quickly, culminating in a 1957 wedding at the Beverly Hills Hotel, a ceremony broadcast on national television, with Life magazine hailing them as America's golden couple. The public adored them, captivated by a romance that seemed timeless. Yet, behind the smiles and media fanfare, cracks began to show. Wagner's career struggled while Natalie's soared, feeding rumors of jealousy and tension. On set and in public, whispers circulated of his sudden temper and possessiveness. By 1962, the couple's marriage ended in divorce, officially due to irreconcilable differences. Though those close to Natalie knew the reasons ran far deeper. Wagner remarried, fathered a daughter, and divorced again, each chapter adding complexity to his image as both a devoted family man and a man prone to passionate indiscretions. In 1972, a twist of fate reunited Wagner with Natalie. Their remarriage reignited Hollywood's fascination. A fairy tale reunion on the surface, yet counseling notes from the period reveal a darker undertone. Natalie confided fears of Wagner's sudden outbursts, a side of him known only to those closest. Stefanie Powers, his longtime co-star and confidant, would later recall the duality that defined Wagner: endlessly charming, witty, magnetic, but beneath it all, a shadow of volatility, a depth of emotion only glimpsed by those who truly knew him. Natalie's death sent shockwaves through Hollywood, leaving a trail of grief, suspicion, and unanswered questions. On December 3, 1981, her funeral at Westwood Memorial Park became a gathering of the industry's most powerful names: Frank Sinatra, Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, and Gene Kelly among them. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing the sorrow and solemnity of the day. Yet behind the public mourning, tension simmered. Questions about the handling of Natalie's estate quickly emerged. Wagner, now the legal guardian of Natalie's two daughters, Natasha and Courtney, moved swiftly to sell key properties and personal belongings. including her Palm Springs villa and an impressive collection of jewelry and art. While he justified these actions as necessary for the children's welfare, many interpreted them differently. Critics and family members speculated that Wagner's decisions were motivated more by control and financial interest than by grief. Headlines and tabloid speculation painted him as a man balancing public sympathy with private opportunism, intensifying the scrutiny that had already begun in the wake of Natalie's tragic death. The media's fascination with Wagner never waned. Over the years, every gesture, every red carpet appearance, and every new relationship was analyzed under the harsh light of public scrutiny. Vanity Fair once wrote, "Robert Wagner walks among beautiful women as if through mirrors, and in each mirror he sees a reflection of himself, dazzling yet distorted." The phrase captured the duality of his life, the charisma that enchanted audiences and the private turbulence that haunted him. Even decades later, the shadow of Catalina Island followed Wagner like a silent companion. Every interview, every memoir, every glimpse into his personal life seemed tinged with the unresolved mystery of that night. To Hollywood, he remained a star. To the public, a figure entwined with scandal. And to those closest to the truth, a man forever carrying the weight of secrets that may never be fully revealed. The memory of Natalie Wood's death was not just a headline or a tragic story. It was an enduring echo that shaped Wagner's life, his legacy, and the world's fascination with the dark, hidden corners of Hollywood glamour. In 2008, Wagner published Pieces of My Heart, a memoir revisiting his life and Natalie's death. He painted her passing as a tragic accident, insisting there were no fights, no jealousy, only fate. But for those who had followed the Catalina case closely, his account felt incomplete, selective, and in some ways carefully curated. Witness statements, autopsy inconsistencies, and the captain's later testimony painted a far more complicated picture, one that Wagner's memoir seemed to smooth over. Critics were quick to respond. Many accused Wagner of rewriting history, presenting himself as a grieving widower while glossing over unanswered questions that lingered for decades. Lana Wood, Natalie's younger sister, was perhaps the most vocal. She argued that Wagner's book was more than a personal memoir. It was an attempt to overwrite her sister's memory, to frame the narrative before others could challenge it. To the public, the story of Natalie Wood had become a tragic chapter in Hollywood lore, but for those closest to her, the mystery was still very much alive. Yet Wagner did not stop there. In 2014, he returned with a second memoir, You Must Remember This, a reflective stroll through the golden era of Hollywood. The book touched on his glamorous parties, past romances, and fleeting moments with icons like Audrey Hepburn and Joan Collins. While the nostalgic tone fascinated readers, it also reignited public scrutiny. The memoir hinted at charm and charisma, but also exposed the contradictions between the man in the spotlight and the man behind closed doors. Stefanie Powers, Wagner's longtime co-star and confidant, had observed all of this quietly for decades. She described a man with two selves: the dazzling public persona, witty and magnetic, and the private, haunted soul, carrying the weight of unresolved guilt and grief. To her, Wagner was both a survivor of Hollywood's relentless glare and a prisoner of his own secrets, navigating a world where truth and illusion were dangerously intertwined. Her perspective offered a rare window into the complexity of a man whose life had been lived in the shadows of fame, scandal, and tragedy. Even in his 90s, Wagner's name evokes two things: the tragic story of Catalina Island and the two memoirs that leave more questions than answers. Stefanie Powers, now speaking openly at 82, may be the closest the world will ever come to uncovering the truth. Her words challenge Hollywood's carefully curated image of Wagner, forcing audiences to confront the darkness that often lies beneath the surface of glamour. The death of Natalie Wood remains an unhealed wound, a haunting question mark that refuses to fade. Was it an accident or something far more sinister? Stefanie Powers' revelation suggests that some chapters were deliberately kept hidden, leaving us with only fragments of a story that the world has long tried to forget. She recalls the subtleties of Wagner's behavior, The way he would stare into the distance, laugh abruptly to mask inner turmoil, and carefully curate the narrative of his life while leaving vital truths unspoken. For decades, Hollywood allowed Wagner's public persona to overshadow the whispers of tragedy. Yet, Powers' candid observations pierce through the veneer, hinting at a man shaped by love, loss, and unresolved guilt. Her testimony invites the audience to re-examine everything: the life jacket worn backward, the bruises dismissed, the screams heard but ignored. Each detail becomes a thread in a tapestry of secrets, weaving a portrait of a night and a man that refuses to be neatly explained. In Speaking Out, Stefanie Powers forces history to confront itself, reminding the world that behind the glittering lights, shadows often linger longer than the stars. Hollywood is a world of illusion, where beauty, fame, and charm walk hand in hand with secrecy, power, and betrayal. The story of Natalie Wood, Robert Wagner, and Stefanie Powers is not just about tragedy. It is about the shadows that linger behind the spotlight, the silent truths hidden beneath glamour, and the voices that finally dare to speak. Stefanie Powers' courage to break her silence may be the final piece of a decades-old puzzle. And as the public listens, Hollywood collectively holds its breath, waiting, wondering, and remembering. Because in the end, the mystery of Catalina Island is more than just a story about a star. It is a haunting testament to love, loss, and the secrets that refuse to stay buried. If you want to explore more untold Hollywood mysteries where glamour meets dark secrets, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think Stefanie Powers has revealed? Could this be the truth the world has been waiting for? Or just the memory of someone who lived it?